Hello and a warm welcome to the Irish Angle. Here we are again, myself, Emma Nagle and Johnny Ward, three of us going to have a look back at all the things that happened in horse racing in the last week. Emma, Johnny, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Vinny.
Thanks, Vincent.
Now we'll start off with you, Johnny. First off, I hear you're going to be in the movies, is that right? Yourself and Mick Winters. You had an interview with him down in Cork on Friday, was it?
Yeah, it was funny. Like when you're doing a meeting like that, and Cheltenham is on Racing TV. Most of the work I would do would be on Racing TV Extra. So stuff doesn't. Generally, you're not going to get those interviews across in the main channel unless a trainer happens to win a race. And Mick Winters had a horse who was, I think he was about 33-1 in one race, but like he's always good. He's very courteous. He'd always come up to you and like help you out if you want. Because I like to kind of go around the parade ring and chat to whoever comes across me if he or she has a chance in the race or whatever. But I said, what's the crack with your facial hair? And he goes, oh, I'm in this movie that they're filming in Kanturk, a series of plays to raise money for AstroTurf in March. So I said, like, well, sure, hopefully. And then I said it to the lads on Race TV, and then I think it was Andy Dunkley was presenting. He said, I believe you're talking to Mick Winters, and this is before Crows ate the apple tart ran. So I sort of said, hopefully Crows ate the apple tart win, so we'll have an excuse to. And sure enough, like there was gambled on favourite in the race, and Crows ate that tart with like 14-16-1, beats the favourite in a photo finish. And it's funny, like when he was he was talking to Robbie Irwin afterwards, after Crows ate the apple tart won, and like the owners or connections who were there, they seemed to be getting a great kick out of the day even before the horse won. But like it was obviously a small crowd in Mallow. I was effectively a rearranged industry meeting, but like it seemed to be that everyone wants to be around the parade ring to hear what Mick Winters had to say. And I think Eugene O'Sullivan's wife is she plays a woman who wanted to be a nun, but life got in the way or something like that. And but he just plays Father Jack, but he's actually 3 months in advance. He's putting on facial hair, even though he just said he wanted him to look kind of rough and ready and ragged like for the role. So I can't wait to see it anyway, and I definitely want to partner.
Yeah, great stuff. He's a gas man. That's some name of horse, isn't it? Crows ate the apple tart.
Yeah, even
that's the better names.
Even that is a story behind it, how there were two aunties, and one of them, she made the apple tart, and basically she was the contrary auntie, and the crow nicked her apple tart, but not the other auntie's apple tart. But he's amazing for racing. Like, Jerry Keane won an award, obviously, at the HRI Awards last week, and you had Tom Gibney and so on winning. But like, I do feel the likes of Mick Winters, because he's such a genuinely colourful character who's always kind of, if he's not in good form, he'd put you in good form anyway, and he just always does seem to be in good form. And racing, like, it was amazing. I was coming back from the races the other day, and I was like, he the horse that nearly won an Ascot Gold Cup. Like, it's incredible how racing can bring you to these places. But any good horse he gets is great for racing.
Good stuff, yeah. See, one other thing there, just it's going to happen in the next few minutes while we're recording the show, is Rachel Blackmore is back from 3 months on the sidelines. She rides at Punchestown this afternoon. Great to see her back, and let's hope she comes back with a winner and stays injury-free for as long as possible. Right, let's get into some of the bigger details of what we're going to talk about. The interesting thing came up last week, Emma. Ronan McNally is going to take the IHRB to the High Court. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I was surprised. I saw someone posting about that the other day. It's kind of a long time coming, I suppose. You nearly put to the back of your mind now, the Ronan McNally case. What is it, 12, 18 months ago now at this stage? So, yeah, so I'm not sure what the delays were there, I suppose, getting legal advice and all that. But I suppose it's no massive shock. Like, Ronan always kind of felt he was fairly hard done by the IHRB, wasn't he? I suppose, like, in the space between then and now, maybe there's been a few more lenient rulings than what he was dealt with as well. But still, I don't think there's really been any comparable case since. But it's interesting. Like, there's very little detail on that on the High Court website so far, so it's kind of hard to comment too much on it now. But like, I was just looking back through the case again. Like, there were so many different charges. It's kind of hard to remember what he was actually done for. But I think kind of the main thing was the pattern of improvement kind of was irregular, I suppose. But like, you can imagine his legal team will be able to find a few similar cases where there's been the same amount of improvement with different horses, which was never even investigated into. Now, I know that's not the only thing in the case. I think there was 11 or 12 charges. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll probably be a slow burning kind of thing again, I suppose, like we always see with the High Court and the IHRB. But how successful he will be, I'm not too sure. But I think he does have a case. Like, I think in comparison to other things. He was treated too harshly, even though he's sanctions were kind of reduced slightly, like he's allowed to go racing and stuff like that now. But like, I don't think Ronan McNally is by any way innocent by letter of the law, but I'm not sure why he's the only one being judged by letter of the law as well by the IHRB, would be the way I'd put it. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how it goes now.
Yeah, another aspect of this, when he was originally charged and found guilty and all the rest at the referral hearing, it looked like it was going to be a watershed for the industry, where they'd taken horses that had won, and then they'd retrospectively gone back over their previous form when there had been no major issues or no issues seen on the day, and yet they were going back in saying horses that had started slowly mustn't have been schooled properly out of stalls and all this sort of thing. They've never done it since, so there hasn't been any other instance of this. Now, maybe it's just the case with such a clean sport. There is nothing else to look into, but
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like at the time, you were kind of saying maybe this would be a big kind of turning point for how the IHRB deal with these cases. But like you said, there's been nothing since. So maybe that's why he's feeling so hard done by, because they haven't really changed their ways since then.
Yeah, the other thing Emma was saying there, Johnny, is the fact that we very scant details on this. We don't know what he's actually filing against or into the High Court for this case. But one thing we do see is it's IHRB and others. So there must be others involved somewhere that he's taken the case against. Like, I don't know who they are, but I'm presuming that they're probably individuals within the IHRB that he has a grievance against, but I'm not absolutely sure. But what do you make of this whole thing? It's going to cost him a fortune going to the High Court, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose, unless he wins, Vinny, but that's it's a big if. It's way, way beyond my pay grade to know what's going to happen here. Like Gary Matthews, his solicitor, I think he's a County Armagh man, so there's a connection there. If you go onto Gary's website, who's a personal injury solicitor, I'm just on the website for a few minutes, and the personal assistant has come up and asked me, do I need a consultation? But I'm just looking at why should I appoint a solicitor about Gary, and no win, no fee arrangements explained, and costs when making a claim. So I presume Ronan is on top of all of this, because I've some sympathy for Ronan in the sense that there's no place like Northern Ireland for a bit of whataboutery, and that's where Ronan's from. But you could certainly engage in a lot of whataboutery in relation to the punishment that he was meted. The punishment he got compared to far, far bigger connections with who basically have horses stopped left, right, and centre, and nothing happens. Like, and Ronan got literally the whole book thrown at him. Like, and this wasn't a welfare case either. This was effectively about inside information and bit of skullduggery, I suppose, really. But like, Racing has been about that for since time began, really. So he probably still feels. I haven't spoken to him in a while. The last time I spoke to him, he happened to be racing the day Petrolhead won at Bellewstown. The last time I spoke to him that day. But you do feel that I'd say he's getting a great kick out of his son Tub doing so well as a pony rider. But he feels that his livelihood has been taken away from him here, and probably that others have not been punished nearly as severely for their own sort of issues, and a lot of welfare issues really not getting punished compared to what Ronan did. But again, I don't know. I mean, it looks like you look at the likes of Enoch Burke going to court and the whole Burke family, the amount of money that they're racking up in legal costs that they'll probably never pay. So I don't really know how that's going to work for Ronan, but I imagine he has to be fairly confident that Gary Matthews has to say to him, listen, we've a good chance here, because there are big risks, and I do have some sympathy for him for all this. He clearly wasn't whiter than white either.
Yeah, another man that may end up in the court sooner rather than later, Frankie Dettori. I see there's issues with his tax in the UK. So his name has finally been released. It was under anonymity clauses or whatever up to now, but now he's in the public domain. We don't know much about it, Emma, but no major surprises. It seems to happen with all these top earners, doesn't it? They never seem to want to pay their rightful dues.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of a common theme. Like, a lot of the soccer players get done for as well. Wasn't Messi and a few others done there in the last few years. Look, I'd say the same thing, kind of very little details. He was kind of saying he was poorly advised a few years ago, and yeah, his name is out in the papers now. But he's gone to America now, so he's a bit further away from the issue now. But sure, look, I don't know. It could have been going on for years. Don't really know what he was in some tax avoidance scheme. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as well. But probably not as surprising. Like you said, a lot of those kind of top athletes don't seem to want to pay taxes. They always seem to get caught as well by not doing it. So yeah, it seems to be a common theme.
Yeah, just a pity he wasn't an Irish jockey. He would have got his last 10 years back when he retired. Taxable earnings. Anyway, moving on. Willie Mullins. He's had some year with awards. He's getting awards left, right, and centre. But one that surprised me a little bit was he got the RTE Sports Manager of the Year award. What did you make of that, Johnny?
Yeah, like I suppose, it's kind of racing's way, I suppose, RT's way of bringing a racing personality like a trainer who does kind of manage a team, albeit of animals, effectively, into the whole sphere. I don't. I mean, these awards really are of very limited interest to me. I congratulate Willie. He's won. I remember Willie. I asked him once for I know he likes an Armagnac, so a friend of mine, his father wanted some Armagnac for Christmas, so I asked Willie for advice on what Armagnac to get him, and lo and behold, he turned it up at Thurles Races the following Sunday with a box of Armagnac for me, and I was like, this man must have so many prizes out there, would be the Armagnac, or that he was actually so nice to do that to me. But it's just another award. Like, I mean, was it the RTE Sports Personality of the Year when Katie Taylor got it over Sam Bennett, when Sam Bennett was the green jersey, in the Tour de France? Was one of the most pathetic things you'll ever see, like a female boxer who won a couple of sort of run-of-the-mill fights. So these awards can be a bit mad, but it's good for Willie to win it. He won a prestigious enough award sponsored by KPMG the other day as well for kind of an outstanding contribution to Ireland. It's a business award, so I think that was 1 or 2 days after the HRI award he won. So it should be said that, like, Willie's first winner was in Cheltenham was 30 years ago nearly, and it took him a while to get anywhere near the level that he's reached. So I think that's a sign as well that things don't necessarily happen overnight, even if you're the genius that he is. But I will say with Willie, I think he's an incredible ambassador for racing. He's a really, really genuine, nice person as well to deal with, and fair play to him. But yeah, these awards wouldn't really float my boat.
Yeah, the other thing is he's going to find it hard to replicate last season, isn't he? Win a Grand National, a Gold Cup, a champion hurdle, champion trainer, UK and Ireland. What do you think, Emma? He's still on track for it, but it's going to be a fair ask to replicate that this season.
Yeah, it'll be tough. Like, even getting those 100 Cheltenham winners, like, it was probably as good a year as you can imagine. Like, first Irish and British champion trainer since Vincent O'Brien in the 50s. Like, it's hard to replicate that, and that's kind of, I suppose, the pressure he's under now, because people expect him to be nearly better and better every year. And he was even saying that the day we were down there, like, how everyone just kind of expects him to turn up with all these grade 1 novice hurdlers and novice chasers. But that's kind of the biggest challenge. He was saying, like, he has to find like 8 or 10 of these new horses every single year, and the fact that he's able to do that, I think, is just phenomenal. It's kind of what sets him apart from all the big trainers. Like, every single year he has the top novices in nearly every division, whereas, other trainers might slack off for a few years because they just can't seem to find that horse, but Willie just seems to find them every single year. But like you said, winning the Gold Cup, champion hurdle, Grand National, I think he most grade 1s ever in a year as well. He definitely deserved the award, in my opinion. Anyway, like, he's kind of probably the best trainer, definitely the best trainer I've ever seen in the national hunt sphere. Anyway, and we're kind of blessed in Ireland. We've got probably two of the best in the world with Willie and Aidan. Aidan was up for it as well, but yeah, Willie's here, hard to top it, I'd say now.
It was funny as well, Vinny. Nevin Maguire had a program on there from Cashel. He did a 2-part program about, like, Irish food from Cashel, and I'd say I've stayed in the Cashel Palace once because I got a good deal from a fellow who was working there. Like, it's a real, like, it's racing royalty. But Neville Maguire, actually, he turned up at Aidan O'Brien's yard, and he did a lovely interview with him. He was just talking about the relationship between people and horses, and you were kind of looking around, and it did strike me during the night. It's almost like we take for granted, just as Emma says, like, we have 2 of the best trainers in the world here. And the one thing about Willie, in terms of being a manager per se, is that he does have to manage a really, really big team. Like, and you have to be able to delegate, and you have to want people. Yeah, people will want to work for you, or will they want to be part of a team. You have to be their manager. You have to manage the horses, but you also have to manage, in the sense of, for say a football parlance, the director of football has to recruit. Like, Willie is only really as good as the horse he has to some extent. And their recruitment in Willie's yard from France and from various other sectors is really, really top notch. Like, that's one thing that his team of people who kind of, Harold Kirk's this world, and the people who buy the horse for him, the people who source him in France, they're massive as well. So I suppose in terms of what he's managing, he's doing an incredible job.
And even his team, like you mentioned, the team of jockeys he has in that yard, and he seems to be able to keep them all happy. Like, you've obviously got Towland at the top, and then you've got, like, all the way down through, like, even the likes of Brian Hayes, Rachel Blackmore, Michael O'Sullivan, like, they all go in there riding out. And like he's obviously keeping them all happy, and like having the likes of Ruby Walls, David Casey, like keeping that wheel turning, like Johnny said, like with or is it probably 200, 300 horses, like it's some management. And I'd say people maybe take it for granted, saying that he has the best horses and he does this, but like kind of just building on Johnny's point there, I'd say it's probably one of the most high pressure jobs in the country what he's doing, and he just makes it seem seamless.
Yeah, I suppose the other thing with a Premier League manager or something, they only have to deal with probably one owner they have to keep happy to keep in their job. Willie has got hundreds of owners he has to keep happy at all different stages. That must be the thing. I can never understand this, is they go off to France, they find a good horse in France. How did they decide which owner it goes to? There must be serious competition there for who gets what, and there must be a grievance when someone doesn't get the good one. But
that's a massive point, Vinny. Yeah, like that's how he, like, I think it must be a bit of a pact when you have a horse with him, that you kind of have to see to what Willie says at times, and that's fair enough. But like the one horse I was involved with him, like I remember he waived the last month's training fees, which actually was a big help to me at the time. I don't think his training fees are extortionate, and I did an interview with him for the Business Post Sunday of last week where he said he's not motivated by money, and I do get that. Like he was, as somebody who had a horse with him, he was brilliant to deal with.
Yeah, great stuff. Anyway, let's look at some of the horses from last week. The first thing we may mention is Majborough. He ran 3 in a novice chase, and all 3 would be grade 1 performers. You'd think Majborough, Tully Hill, and Asian Master. It looked a fair race coming down to the last, but there was literally only one winner. Very impressive, Emma. Wasn't he Triumph Hurdle winner going over fences?
Yeah, I was really taken by him, to be honest. Like I was a massive fan of him last year, as a juvenile hurdler, but it can be really, really tough for that kind of horse to go over fences straight away. But I suppose with his physique and all that, I'd say was probably always the plan with him. But it can be difficult to go up against the likes of, Asian Master there. He had loads and loads of chase fencing experience. I suppose he'd run a point to points in 100 chases. And Tully Hill, he's been around the block a few times as well. Like, they had a lot more experience, I suppose, than Majborough on the track, but it was so impressive, to be honest with you. I kind of thought maybe coming into it, like, he'd be a horse who might be possibly going for a Brown Advisor. You'd often think that about the Triumph Hurdle horses, but I'd say it's probably the most impressive novice chasing debut I've seen this year. I'd probably maybe notch Ballyburns slightly. I thought his jumping was immense. Everything was so easy. Obviously, he was getting a bit of weight off Tully Hill, but I don't think he could have done it much easier. I was really impressed. And like you said, the 2 horses in behind were no slouches at all, and he put them to bed really easy. So I'd say I'd be surprised if they stepped him up and trip after that, to be honest. And he's got in short enough for the Arkle now, and he definitely deserves to be out. I was really taken by that now, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. 2 miles looks the trip at the moment anyway for him. What did you make of him, Johnny? He could be something special, couldn't he?
Yeah, I was just actually looking up his sire here as we come in. Martin Burra, who is a deep impact bred horse, who's actually standing, I don't know, Capital Stud. I don't know, Emma, if you know where Capital Stud is in Ireland. But
Capital Stud, yeah, it's down, is it Kilkenny direction? They bought that other horse. What's the sire of Tiger Roll? What's he called?
Authorised. Oh, yeah.
They bought Authorised back as well.
That's interesting. Yeah, because he was like, he's just one of these sires I'd never heard of. I think he said, just looking here, he said 7 jumps, winners. 7 jumps, runners, 4 winners. So he's going to be an interesting sire going forward when you get a horse of so much ability. And like when Walk in the Park took off in these parts because of Duvan, like that literally catapulted him into the sphere. So interesting how that sire does. But I thought the whole thing about that race, Vinny, you kind of alludes there, was amazing. Like, you had 3 proper grade 1 horses running against each other from the same yard, and it was impossible to see anything else win this. My mates and myself, we start off doing this accumulator on Saturdays. So we all put in like one selection and we add it up and we get one of the bookies to lay it. But I put up Western Fold finishing the first 4. So I was kind of looking at him going around in a modest 4th, and then he was booked for 4th, and of course he came down at the last anyway. So I was sort of looking at that, and then I looked over, and at this stage Majborough had like gone. I wasn't sure what he was going to find, because he did go out to 11 to 8 on track. And like, I had put him up the day before, think 10 to 11 was value. Like, I did think that was value best. But then I saw on track these odds against here, and you're like, first run back, could you be that confident? So there's probably a little bit of market unease, but it was totally unfounded. Like, he was maybe slightly left, but other than that, he was exceptional at his fences. And like, the way he quickened away coming to the last, like, just kind of got a little bit of a squeeze. I felt it was an exceptional performance. And to have a race like that at 11:30, a beginner's chase on a Saturday in Ireland, it was just incredible, like, incredible day's race.
Yeah, I was wondering that as well, about those morning races, early races. Would it make a difference to a horse? You know, with humans, like, some people are better in the evenings than they are in the mornings. I know my wife is great in the morning. She can get up at 7 in the morning, do all sorts of things. I'm crawling out of the bed. Yet at night, I could stay up all night. My daughters are the same. They tend to stay up all night. But what about that, Emma? You have horses down the yard. Do you see a difference in them different times of the day?
Racing wise, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I suppose they'd have to start a lot earlier in the day. Like, you'd imagine they get their breakfast a bit earlier than normal. They have to travel. I suppose if how far they're travelling will make a difference there too. But you'd see with the footballers, I suppose, don't you? Like, a lot of teams maybe mightn't perform with the early kickoff. I don't know, maybe more of a question for Woody Mullins now. I know he was complaining about those early starts. I don't think it was from a horse's perspective. It was more from a punter's perspective. He hates those 11:30 starts, and I think they're a bit of a joke as well. Like, I mean, who's going to really want to go racing at that time in the morning? If you just shorten the gaps between the races, you could start it an hour later and everyone would be a bit happier, I'd say.
There's a big thing about the gaps between races. Like, I've just been trying to do a bit of research on this, and with respect to the bookmakers, and you know, the TV companies, the evidence shows that the longer the gap between races in general, like, it really does substantially help turnover. So if you have three meetings on a Wednesday or whatever, it's far better for the turnover per meeting if there were 3 meetings than 5 meetings and stuff like that. And that's why those 35-minute gaps are there, to allow more time for the sort of casual punter at home to think about having a bet before the race. But like, it is, I mean, 11:30 is early. They do run dogs now at like 8 in the morning, those bags meetings. I was thinking, like, if you were to do a stag in Kilkenny, you could start off with Kilkenny dogs and go to Goran races. And it'd only be noon, and you'd be having a good day already. Like, you know, I don't know if they open up the bar at the meetings of bags, but they race about 8 in the morning. Like,
you'd have to say there's a few clashes coming up over the Christmas and everything else, and all the way to Cheltenham, that you would get up at 8 in the morning to watch, isn't there? Certainly get up early to watch Mashborough the next day. Other stuff from last week then, Caldwell Potter, the big purchase from Paul Nicholls' yard, 740,000 they paid for him. He won his first start. 10 months they put him away for before they brought him out over offensive last month, and he won reasonably well. Then he gets beaten on Friday in Cheltenham. Very disappointing for connections, I'd imagine, Emma. But then again, what can you expect when spending that sort of money? You're never going to be happy all the time, right?
Yeah, you'd imagine they'd be very disappointed though. Like, I think the winner probably isn't a bad horse. I thought it was a really impressive. Like, he was his chasing debut. I thought he was really impressive. Django Boy for Nicky Henderson. Like, he wasn't a bad novice hurdler, I suppose. He was kind of rated around the 140s. And he was getting a bit of weight off Caldwell Potter as well. But like you said, it's those kind of big money purchases normally don't go the head of the whole way. Like, they spent so much, but yeah, 740,000. Like, you'd be hoping he'd be a grade 1 novice somewhere. Like, on that performance, it's kind of hard to say he will be. Like, he was well beaten. I know he was giving a bit of weight away to the winner, but the second horse was giving weight to Caldwell Potter, and he had him 6 or 7 lengths in behind. The ground maybe might be an issue. I think that's what Nicholls was kind of blaming. He kind of obviously won his grade 1 in Ireland on heavy ground. And like, I don't think his Irish form looks that bad. Like, he beat a horse called Gorgeous Tom in a maiden herd. Like, Gorgeous Tom isn't a bad horse, so like, he could potentially be a grade 1 horse eventually for Henry de Bromhead. So yeah, Caldwell, I was disappointed now. I thought he jumped well and all that throughout, but he just didn't really find anything now. Maybe it was the ground, but I wouldn't like to be after paying 740,000 for him after that. He's a fair way to go now, I think, to be a grade 1 novice.
After the race on after the race in Carlisle, Harry Cobden, I think, said, like, you know, he can't have it soft enough, this horse. And you have to remember, when Emma said he beat Gorgeous Tom, when he beat Predator's Gold, I'd say that was as bad as you get in terms of Leopardstown ground ever. It was really, really attritional, and that was his most impressive performance. Like, theoretically, he actually sort of improved a bit on his chase debut, but like, I thought for a lot of the race I'd be happy with him. He jumped. He's very well able to jump. But for me now, will he have a wind up, or is it completely ground related? But I suppose maybe the happiest people watching the race were Andy and Gemma Brown of Caldwell Construction, obviously, because I mean, they gave up these horses. They were so gutted that they had these fatalities, and it was one of the maddest things I've ever seen. But they got decent twine for them. You'd have to say, all involved they got decent money for the horse they sold. This horse ain't worth 750 grand or whatever it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'd say their kids got an extra scoop of ice cream on Friday evening for dinner. After that, 740,000, as the kids weren't happy. There you go.
Yeah. I don't anyway, to watch racing anymore, though. They were so gutted that time. So we shall see.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. A few other ones. One from last week that really caught my eye. I don't know whether you thought much of it. Was a horse called Kitsbull at Willys. Beat Colonel Mustard, Lorna Fowler's horse, who'd be a fair yardstick, and beat it very well. I thought that was a real good one. But anyway, let me hear from the two of you about your horses to follow that you saw from last week. Emma, what took your eye most of all?
Most of all, definitely Majborough. I think Majborough will be. I know Ballyburn is probably the one they all have to beat, but I was really taken by Majborough that day, and he can only get better from there. You'd imagine. If I was going to back something right now for the Arkle, I'd say I'd be with Majborough. He looks a serious animal.
Yeah, very good. What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, I could give Majborough, but I was in Mallow on Friday, so I'd probably give something from that. It was actually a really excellent meeting for a sort of a meeting that was in it with a couple of things to know. Robbie's Rock, possibly the first 3-year-old ever to win a handicap hurdle in Ireland. I was talking to Martin Murphy in HRI afterwards, and I think it's possible that the rules were changed. Robbie's Rock landed a big gamble, interesting gamble as well for a 3-year-old, but just a couple of other horses. Spindlebury beat Majestic Force in an epic mares beginners chase. Majestic Force jumped spectacularly, but just got tired in the last 100 yards. And I thought the Roy Paul Town against Spindlebury was really, really top class, just to wait and not go after her. He also won on Fancy Girl, who I thought was very good. But Kellis Roar is the horse I'm going to give. He won the Mallow Maiden Hurdle. He was, fair enough, it was sort of a 2-horse race in the bet, and 2 French recruits, him and Kilgame. Kilgame basically looked pretty slow. He's beaten 70 links. Maybe he's better than that. Kellis Roar, Mark Wall said his jumping kind of got better as the race went on. Willie doesn't, to my knowledge, over school these horses. He kind of likes them to develop as the race goes, and he'd been off for a while. But for me, it was a performance full of class from Kellis Roar. It's going to be interesting going forward.
Good stuff, yeah. Another one I liked. Well, I don't know where we'll go with this. I think it's going to be Leopardstown, sneak into the bottom of the weights for a handicap hurdle over Christmas, is Brave Troop of Charles Burns. Landed a bit of a touch in Thurles last month, and then went up £16 and wins again at Navan on Sunday. James Smith rode him. Now, I don't know much about James Smith. He's a claiming rider related to Matthew Smith, isn't he, as far as
he's
I know?
He's Matthew's son, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, but for Charles to be using him first off, that's a bit of a thumbs up to his ability, and he looked very good. Looked very stylish both days on this. Now, having said that, I might have won on the horse myself, I think, either day, because it absolutely cruised up again yesterday. But he's won. Like, he's obviously a lot better than his initial handicap rating over hurdles. So I'm sure Charles will get a few more days out of him.
I did feel in hindsight that he got off lightly for getting £16 for that win, and I wasn't surprised he did follow up. I'm not sure what the connection with Charles and James is, because James had been in England, and he came back, and he's kind of been riding for his uncle. Kevin, and obviously his dad. The Smiths are really good. I think they're really good operators. He's a good rider, like good value for his claim. And now anyone might have won on him, but he's a very, very stylish rider, and that's an interesting lines he has with Charles there.
Yeah, I thought the same. Yeah, very interesting. Charles should pick him to ride on one of his gambled ones as well. Yes, there you go. And he keeps the ride the next day, which is also a good sign. So hopefully he'll be back on board now at Leopardstown Christmas. We might get a few quid somewhere. Anyway, if you are having a bet either over Christmas or anywhere else, make sure you gamble responsibly. Do subscribe to our channel. We've got lots more coming over the Christmas. We'll have all sorts of shows for you. Hopefully some tipping shows as well. Emma, won't we, for this day next week? Is it? Or you
yeah, we've no more shows this week now, but we'll do a kind of a form scan this day next week with the three of us, and then another one on the Friday with Paddy Flood. So we'll have a bit over Christmas, all right?
There you go. Loads of winners to come. Have a great Christmas, and we shall talk to you all again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.